Christmas from Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
I'm Mandy, and I have a cold.
Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great audio and visual experience for everyone this holiday season, as I bundled up and got all cozy and was horrified by Tom Baker's face.
Yeah, there you go. And also joining us, a very special guest. You know her as the Game Master for Geek and Sundry's Goblin mode. You know her from Critical Role, Dimension 20. You know her from writing D&D books Candlekeep Mysteries and Fizzband's Treasury of Dragons. And as the creative director for Alchemy RPG's world and campaign book Dark Symmetry. You might know her from her two nerdy music albums, Songs in the Key of D&D, or Behold Her Dreams. You might even know her as the best contestant on Dropout TV's Breaking News. Please welcome to the podcast, comedy internet nerd Amy Vorpahl.
Yay! Hi, Becca. Hi, Mandy.
Hi.
Hello.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes, how's your Christmas day going that we're totally recording this on?
It's so cozy and presents probably happening.
I'm so happy that you abandoned your family and loved ones to talk about Doctor Who in chronological order with us.
Oh, anytime. Those bozos in the Vorpahl family, I couldn't get away from them fast enough.
Great. Today we are talking about a not at all Christmassy episode.
No.
I would say that it is it might be more of an Easter story of someone coming back from the dead.
Ooh.
It also could be a Grinchmas story.
Yeah.
What makes some
it's
correlations?
The origin of someone who
we've been talking about
came
a lot
back from
lately.
the dead.
That's true. Now, I want to say that, Doctor Who has, at this point, a long and illustrious history of actual Christmas episodes. And if we were a normal Doctor Who podcast, we'd probably just be talking about a Christmas episode. But no, we are at the whims of the chronology.
Yeah, we're in 8000 BC. Christ ain't happened yet.
Yeah.
We are still in very pagan times.
But with gobs of technology.
Yeah. Luckily, we're on an alien planet in an alternate universe, so that's something. This is our first alternate universe or outside the universe.
Cool.
Yeah, and we get just a common seasonal holiday tale about a very festive town that I like to call Silent Hill. And the fog that is coming for them all.
How about those practical effects?
Yes, of course, we're talking about Full Circle today, the Tom Baker story, which is the origin story of Adric.
I don't expect special treatment.
Don't you? Isn't that what the star's for?
That is for mathematical excellence.
Who we've only seen die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I took this to mean, I guess he was fine. Because we never, I know this from just watching, being an anime person. If you don't see a body, they're not dead. And we didn't see a body. And then he showed up, and yeah, he's in E-space. He's in an alternate universe thing. I think that's what kind of happens when your ship crashes into the Earth and all the dinosaurs die. That makes sense.
True.
You just blast away.
I feel like, honestly, not having any idea who the Doctor is or what the TARDIS is kind of best case scenario for being on a ship that's exploding.
Yeah,
Um,
and also, again, in fairness, I've never seen Adric on the TARDIS before this moment, so he has no reason to know what those are.
oh, that's true. That's a really good point.
Yeah. I see that he still has his math star, so I assume that he solved that math problem and
Right.
it was entirely correct.
Mhm.
And he's here now getting made fun of by his brother because he's a dork that wears his math star everywhere.
Yeah. Um, Now, Amy, I know obviously you have watched this episode for this episode of the podcast,
Yes.
and obviously I know that you've also watched the first 6 hours of the Stitches in Time edit also for as preparation for this podcast, right?
Oh,
Totally. Yeah.
no, I'm well, I mean, I don't know. How much do you want me to lie? This could be a really fun episode with me having, I'll just be candid, zero context. Didn't know Adric was a person of note by any stretch of the imagination. That kid just looked like a kid that, kind of look, I don't know, he was the guy that got saved by, like, he never died, and he seemed like from the beginning he wasn't gonna die.
Yeah.
He was the cute kid,
And also his brother has such dead guy energy. From the very beginning, it was like, oh, you're gonna die. I've never heard of you. You're going to die soon, aren't you?
Yeah, the gang of outfielders or whatever they were called, outlanders, outliers.
In my notes, because something that I noticed, this little gaggle of teens, they're all color coded in a way that initially I was thinking boy band, and then they had a girl in kind of lavender, and I was like, oh, this is like a Power Rangers type thing.
Deal.
They did not transform, but it was like, because everyone in the society that they go to, they're wearing a lot of like oranges and yellows, and then suddenly these guys have access to green and purple and other colors, and Adric has like a mishmash of colors. In my notes, I just refer to them as Teen Beat.
Nice.
Perfect.
Okay. I mean, I did wiki the episode. I didn't Wikipedia literally anything else. And I have very little Doctor Who knowledge to start with, so bear with me. But I did wiki, and I think they are called the Outlurs.
That is true. I only knew that because I watched it with subtitles on DVD.
Oh, I had to look it up afterwards, because I'll be candid, like Doctor Who's a trip. Every episode feels like
Yeah, they do actually go on a trip to different locations. In
Oh,
time.
yeah.
That's
So
the premise of the show.
So I mean, yes, I mean that, and your mind will expand in new ways every episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was like they immediately launch you into, we all know how this society works, right? ? And you're like, oh, what? I don't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I should, Amy, to give you a recap of kind of the Stitches in Time that we have.
Oh,
the
sure.
The previous scene, we had a Zoom call with all of the doctors, and they were all talking about what they were going to do. And the War Doctor, who is the doctor known for war, explained that what he was going to do with his free time was war. Endless war. And then we immediately cut to Tom Baker's face as the example of endless war.
Okay, great. Wait, what did you just say to me? Wait, you had wait, sorry. Are you talking about episodes of this podcast?
Yeah.
Of Stitches in Time. This previous thing, we just had a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Why'd you have a Zoom call with someone? I don't understand.
No, there's an episode where all the doctors have a Zoom call with each other because it was a little special thing they did for 2020 lockdown when everyone was on Zoom all the time.
Yeah.
And they thought, wouldn't it be fun to do all the doctors on a Zoom call? And they found out, no, it wasn't really that fun or entertaining, but it was kind of all we had during that time.
Oh my God. Okay, wait, is that why like you pulled some of that to make, I don't know, you hadn't, or you tell me, is this the before and after the episode Becca, maybe did you edit those? Was that part of the Zoom call? Like the people talking to each other?
Yeah, those were clips of our previous episode and our next episode, which I have no idea what our next episode is.
Oh, weird. Okay, I had no idea what was happening with that.
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of it.
That's okay. That's not what this episode is about.
Okay.
This episode, we get to witness the endless war of me having to look at Tom Baker's face as he and
do we generally not like Tom Baker?
Mandy specifically doesn't like Tom Baker.
Oh, okay. He seemed fine.
Okay, so you think he's fine?
I think he's kooky. Yeah, I mean, look, I you have to know, I have like almost zero reference for anything Doctor Who, and that seemed like a regular, the way I know Doctor Who is, like he seemed like that.
I mean, I have to stress that reaction to Tom Baker is like the correct and prevailing fan reaction to Tom Baker. It's just Mandy really doesn't like looking at his face.
Does that feelings toward Tom Baker change when I tell you? So the woman in this episode, Romana, if you consider the fact that Tom Baker gets to kiss Romana and I do not, does that change your feelings toward him at all? Because that really impacts my feelings toward him a lot.
Wait, because you want to kiss Tom Baker?
No, I want to kiss Romana.
Oh, I see. Does that affect me? No, not in the least. And I'm so sorry, but I empathize with you. I know that unrequited love and someone taking your girl is a really hard thing to deal with. So
especially when it's that horrible man.
Okay, he looks like a hobbit, and that's so Amy coded.
He's too tall to be a hobbit.
The last guy I dated was a tall hobbit.
It's like they stretched him.
Yeah,
and like that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where they had to stretch the TV guy.
Well, hobbits don't always breed true, and you can like mate a hobbit with a human and get a tall hobbit. I don't know what to tell you. The man's hobbit coded.
Now, okay, hang on. Now, do you hate Romana for the same reason that Mandy hates Tom Baker? Is like she's taking Tom Baker away?
No. I like Romana. She's giving. I don't know. She seems like a smart, capable woman. I think they gave her some good lines as far as the lines go in this episode. Some good agency. She seemed to figure things out by herself. She wasn't scared of the spider. She obviously should have been, but I think Romana.
She says twice.
They're only spiders. They're only spiders.
Oh, it's just a spider. It's just a spider. And then the spider bites her in the face.
Yeah, in a really crazy cut scene too. The cut of that was like so intense.
It's so awkward and delightful. Amy, so I have to ask, what is your experience with Doctor Who prior to?
Now might be a good time to tell you. So I would say it's near zero. That isn't 100% true. At some point, I decided, this is when I was working at Nerdist, and I decided I should probably have some reference for specifically this IP. And a friend of mine, Kyle Anderson, who's written a book on Doctor Who, told me to start with, I cannot remember this person's name, Christopher Matt?
Jason Statham is his name.
What's his
Christopher Eccleston.
Yes, Christopher Eccleston. He said start with those episodes. I think I watched 3 or 4, got the gist, and then got busy. I don't think it was like I wasn't like, man, screw Doctor Who, I hate this. It was just, I just realized how deep it went, and I think I had other things to do. So I think I've seen 3 or 4 episodes. They were all Eccleston. And then I think I watched, at one point, was that a fart? I remember fart monsters being a thing. That might have been the Eccleston thing.
That was Eccleston.
Yeah, those are
and
Eccleston ones.
And then I also watched, I think, the first Doctor Who Jodie Whittaker episode, but I do not really remember that one. So that's it. Other than that, it's just zeitgeist stuff.
Cool.
But I will say this episode, as old as it was, and like, when you play Skyrim, it's really hard to go back to Morrowind as a video game. I feel very similar. Like, even having watched as little as I have watched, it's a tough row to hoe to go back to these 80s situations. That being said, the fart monsters were a huge hurdle to get over in a way that this episode wasn't. Like, you could tell that they were actually like diving into some storytelling, some narrative, some hero's journey, and so already it gets some points there. I wasn't like completely disgusted by fart monsters. I just will say to drop someone in on that, which I think it was the first and second episodes of that, or I don't know, it was early on.
That's episodes 4 and 5.
Okay, maybe that's.
But okay. I think also, like, to make the fart monster episode a 2-parter it's
brave.
It's a choice, definitely.
Yes. So that's my knowledge, and then coming into this felt actually like what I would expect Doctor Who to feel like this episode, where it's like kind of Mandalorian, or like, you just drop into a thing, like a big thing is already happening, and the Doctor's just out there trying to do good and fix a problem, which honestly, like, the problem of the entire species was really bizarre. that like they were okay, they just couldn't find someone to pilot the ship, which it was
that none of them know how to drive.
Thanks to the manuals that have been passed down, we could take the Starliner apart and put it together again perfectly.
Though there is one thing we can't do, Doctor. One secret our ancestors kept for themselves.
Nobody knows how to pilot this ship.
Well, and maybe it's just an engineering problem, but they have like math stars and science. Like, this was not unfigure-outable.
Well, I want to be clear. From what I could see, only Adric had a math star. So I don't feel like that was a thing, because it's not. There's like no evidence that their society like prizes this. I think his mom might have made him a math star, and that's as far as it went.
And also, I have to say that the math star is like a permanent fixture of his costume for the rest of the episodes he's in, which is a fair few. And it's not really...
It's like midi-chlorians. It's like midi-chlorians. They bring them up just to have something. No, it's never mentioned before, and it's never mentioned afterwards. And they're just like, I guess this kid has to be special in some way. Math star, midi-chlorians. It's the same.
Yeah.
I was surprised because they introduce him as like, oh, he's like the math lead. He solved this problem with the dinosaurs. And actually, most of the activities that we see him do is stealing melons and blowing air at people.
He did do some cool stuff with the microscope. He like knew what was going on. He switched out the lenses or whatever. I mean, that was something that he and the Doctor bonded. Like they were on the same level for biology microscoping looking. But yes, it's disappointing because I don't have any reference. It's disappointing to know that Math Star never comes back. If this character comes back and on some level someone just put it on his costume and then the writers decided to justify it in like a question mark kind of way.
I mean, like, maybe it is addressed, but like, I don't know, classic Doctor Who, like, kind of, a lot of it kind of goes in one ear and out the other for me.
Oh,
which is terrible for my whole thing. Like the fact that I have a fucking podcast, but
it's a podcast for ADHDers by ADHDers, which isn't exactly. Doctor Who for those people, right? People anyway.
Yeah. The Adric Math Star really seems like the sort of thing where they wanted to write that this character is smart, but you are not smart enough to have him say or do anything smart. So we're just going to give him, like, the costuming. We'll leave it to costuming to show us that this character is intelligent. But we have a weird society where they're not wearing, like, typical outfits that we recognize. So how will we designate that they're smart? We'll just give him the smart guy star. And we'll make sure that he tells everyone, hey, I'm better than the rest of Teen Beat. I have a special star. And then his brother puts him in a headlock and goes,
I love at the beginning of this episode, it's Teen Beat trying to steal a bunch of melons, being super sus about, just like ridiculously not good at stealing melons. Like, their sneaking around is literally just like walking out into the open and grabbing some melons. Oh, somebody saw us. Who could have predicted that?
And the consequences are nothing. Like, there's nothing. Even if they were caught and the people decided, we're going to catch these kids, it is not ever stated what any of the consequences are. It's not stated what the consequences are that they lost a couple of melons. We don't know. Yeah. It's kind of like, just leave some melons out. The kids are going to be fine. Also, they're part of the society. These kids, when I started watching it, I was like, oh, okay. Because I saw the little summary, and it was like, we got to protect them from the Marshmen. And at first I was like, okay, maybe these kids are the Marshmen. And it's like, no, they just kind of left the society, but not even left, like went 50 yards that way. Like, they're not far. If anyone really wanted the melons, it's a 30-minute hike at most to get them back.
That's so true. Yeah.
No sign of them. Well, at least they got no river fruits.
It seems like all anyone ever talks about is these these melons.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time being like, oh, they're guarding the fruit.
Entire
the fruit becomes an ominous thing later.
Yeah. Nope, we all just have to go into it.
In fairness, I think that we later implied that the spiders are coming out of the fruit, which I don't know what that means for how they were using the fruit before. Were there spider fruit and non-spider fruit, maybe?
The fruit... Isn't it the fruit, the spiders, the Marshmen, and the humans all have the same DNA? Like, everything is the same? Yeah. Or maybe not the fruit.
They say at the beginning, like, he found, like, the insect eggs or whatever, the spider eggs in the fruit.
It's the same sign noted 50 years ago by Corellis and Dale. They postulated that they might be eggs of some kind.
Insect eggs.
And they're like, this is what happened last time, is that there were spider eggs in the fruit before the misting or whatever it was that they called it.
Mistfall.
Mistfall.
Or as I just put it, Silent Hill. Because I was really expecting we were going to be spending more time in the fog, and I was like, okay. And like when the first Marshman comes, I was like, yeah, I'm totally prepared. Hit him with a crowbar. You got to keep on hitting him until the sound goes away, because otherwise he'll get back up and kick you.
Or loom over you, which equals death.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fighting in this is really really soft.
But instead we get like, first off, there's like a big lake which guys are swimming in, which is the thing, because the Doctor and Romana are, I guess, trying to go to Gallifrey, which is like their home planet, but they get lost and they end up here. And the way that the Doctor knows that they're not in Gallifrey is he just sees two dudes naked swimming in a pond, and it was like, clearly this is not Gallifrey, because we do not allow this frivolity.
Wow.
I don't think that was because they weren't there for that. They stepped into a forest. They just like stepped out and were like, there are a lot of trees here. This isn't Gallifrey. It couldn't be. The
TARDIS moved more in this episode than I've ever seen it move in my entire life.
It's a pretty TARDIS heavy episode. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess the lake boiling is what causes the mist, because they were in it, and then they all had to leave the lake, or like try to pull people out of it and rescue them, and then they all go into their spaceship, and they're going to leave in 10 or 20 or 50 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm. They have to fix every little thing on the ship, which it's on some level, if you're fixing something, at some point you would learn like why you're fixing it, what you're fixing it for, and how to use the thing you're fixing.
I mean, the entire, like, they say that, like, oh yeah, this room is the book room where it contains the manual for how to put together this entire ship down to the last rivet. And I'm like, okay, so you know that. I feel like if you know how to build a car, you could probably figure out how to drive a car.
Yeah, and it's weird that like that decider guy knew that this was the issue and didn't tell anyone. That it wasn't like they weren't. It was like this again. This is fixable. You put a group mind together, even if the how to do it is lost to time. You would get a crew together and say, "Hey, we got to figure out how to fly this thing, and then we can leave."
Right.
But why? I've never addressed why they didn't, like why that was a secret.
As someone who spent a lot of time in middle management, this seemed entirely accurate to me.
Okay, great.
Like we're gonna spend a lot of time trying to solve a problem, and then in the process undoing a lot of it, and things that we thought would take a short amount of time would actually take a much, much longer amount of time, largely because we're redoing the same work over and over and over again. And it's really because the guy running it doesn't know what he's doing and doesn't want to let anybody know that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay.
So instead is going to keep us all busy and just keep on churning. This was entirely, and again, as someone like, I work in e-commerce. I do a lot of like when you're going on the internet buying holiday presents, that is my job. This is my Christmas story. Yikes. That's what Christmas means to me.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
It means fending off all those Black Friday shoppers.
Okay,
with fire
I have a question because this keeps going. This kept happening throughout the episode, and I might have blacked out. ADHD might have kicked in. Sure. However, do either of you know? Because they kept on going, how did they get in? How did they get in? How did they get in? And like, I feel like they asked that question 3 times, and was it ever answered how they got into the spaceship?
I mean, they show that the doors are really easy to open.
Okay, that's what I was like, how they get in? We watched it happen.
Of other times they do open it, like they make it seem impossible, because there's also a bit like when they all go in. And one of the guys is like,
your daughter? She's out there, unprotected. Is there nothing we can do?
She and the other Atlas chose to leave us, Loki.
The doors must close.
My daughter's in Teen Beat, and they haven't come in yet.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to shut the door. They're not going to let her in. But apparently there's a button on the outside that makes it really easy to just get in yourself.
It seems like the same sort of level of propaganda as, oh, we came from this other planet. We're not descended from these marsh creatures and spiders. And also the locks totally work on the doors.
So is what really happening... So they've never been to Terradon or that land. They've never been there. We'll find that out at the end.
Yeah.
So this spaceship is just propaganda? Like, was it built on the planet?
Do you recall the parts of WALL-E that no one wants to talk about? Because this is basically the bit of WALL-E with all the people that no one wants to remember. And everyone talks about how great of a movie WALL-E is. And then they watch the movie WALL-E and it was like, I forgot that there's all that fat phobic stuff with the humans in it. And this is just that again. But without the fat phobia. So technically, I think they did it better.
Interesting. Okay, so who built the spaceship? And where did they build it?
The implication is the spaceship did come here because they have the manual. It's just that the part specifically about how to take off isn't there.
I see. This is interesting because I don't think they really actually answered this question in the episode. My understanding of it was different. My understanding of it was that they had initially built this spaceship to fly away from the Marshmen. It just took so many generations to build that this sort of myth came about or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
I just know whoever it is now, because they have they have the manual and literally the pages of how to start the engine were just burnt. So I took that to mean they had previously had it, and maybe based off of that, it was not it might have been the spider, like, this was a spaceship for spiders the whole time. But I guess it could also be like they did bake it, but
I
then
think it was the
spiders.
Spiders, something, they morphed into Marshmen. Marshmen evolved years later into humans. They separated but are the same. And then the humans decided they were different and built, I thought, like, maybe built the spaceship, and they don't know how to pilot it because they didn't build it right. I don't know. It was so... Look, was this episode good? Can I just ask that?
That's an excellent question.
It's impossible to answer, but it is an excellent question.
I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but you know, having, you know, the context of Doctor Who and then coming into this specifically was interesting. I'll just say that.
This episode was written by Andrew Smith, who was a Doctor Who fan and like kept submitting stories to the BBC, and finally like this one got through and he was asked to like write scripts for it. He was 19 years old when he wrote this script. I don't know if
that tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I love knowing this.
To the question of whether it's good, I think it honestly depends on what you are here for.
Okay.
And I will be honest, when it comes to Doctor Who, generally, not even just classic Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who as well, I am not here for a sensible plot. I am not trying to figure out the mechanics or the, like, Amy, this is more discussion that I've had of, like, the thought of, like, well, why did that happen than I ever put into Doctor Who.
Okay.
I'm asking questions about why is the Doctor so into wanting to save the Marshmen when they ripped his dog's head off?
Do not be afraid. I am non-hostile, operating in data acquisition mode. Explain your...
Hang on.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I care about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I'm a dungeon master, and so world building is wildly important, and part of world building is logic, and a lot of world building is also the materials that are accessible to you, and how who has access to them, who uses them, how much it costs, like that I think is a real, including magic, like what's the magic, who has access to it, how much does it cost, all of that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking, so who built the spaceship, that just, and then if you have parts to fix it, who's coming up with those parts, who's welding those things, or how is the metal being even made to fix, you know, or the tools themselves. So I can't help it. It's where I go. And so the spaceship itself is a big question mark to me, because it seems like everyone actually is allowed and has access into it.
Amy, can I maybe put in a piece of world building that maybe you might have missed this part?
I love it. Yeah,
the entire ship is made of those river melons. It's not, but I thought maybe that would help you. I don't know.
I was like, yeah, I did miss that, and it explains it. You know, sometimes even in D&D, the answer is, I don't know, magic, and so, you know, like that's fine. That would be fine. River melons equals, you know, every material, including synthetic plastics. I'm down. I'm not mad at that. That's fine. Actually, that would be great if someone said, "Oh yeah, the whole thing is made out of our flesh fruit." I'd be like, "All right, okay." Coffee.
Yeah, I mean, like, we basically only see them at a lake and then in the spaceship. For all we know, there's a Target nearby. They went to Home Depot and got all, like, I have no reason to suspect that they don't have any of the materials.
They also,
either.
And is this true for Doctor Who, that this community, fundamentally, without any interruption or question, accepts 1, the TARDIS, and 2, the Doctor, and starts calling him Doctor immediately. Like, there's actually not any tension or question about, oh, the TARDIS. Everyone's like, yeah, that thing kind of moves around, doesn't it? In the spaceship, out of the spaceship, in the cave. Okay, cool. And then, hello, Doctor.
On the inside, yeah, it's all... They should have been asking more questions about that, I feel like. Well, because also, this doesn't happen a lot in like, especially classic Who, but even New Who, it doesn't happen a lot that, like, random other characters will, like, just pop into the TARDIS for a bit. And we did see it, in Time Flight, which we have done on the podcast, there were some, like, random dudes that, like, wandered onto the TARDIS, and they were like, whoa, it's bigger on the inside. This is crazy. Like, they just, like, said that. But
Yeah, I will give credit to the show of they do a bit of like introducing here's kind of the basics of the TARDIS. They do it with Adric. From a logic perspective, like them not doing that with every single individual character, I understand why that doesn't make sense, but from then that just makes the episode a lot longer of like new person walks in. I recently like read a book. It was a sequel to a book that I really liked, and I'm not going to name the book because the sequel to it, I really liked the first one. The sequel to it was literally a lot of like, a thing happened. A person goes into the room and be like, hey, this thing happens. I have a theory about it. We should test that theory. New person comes in. Hey, this thing happened and this person has a theory. Let's test the theory. Then they test the theory. And then they all agree to each other like, okay, we all tested the theory. And then a new person comes in and be like, hey, this thing happened. And then we test. So I give a lot of flack to like if an episode doesn't spend time of like, why didn't they spend more time questioning it and be like, because that would make the episode longer, and I really don't want that anymore. Like,
I
if the audience doesn't need to know, then I don't care.
I guess I could understand that, like in the context of the show that I don't have. But on the spaceship, like the TARDIS shows up, and I just feel like no one was like, "What's this telephone booth doing on our ship that no one's supposed to have access to?" Or no,
Well, I mean, if they also don't have access to it, like. I don't know how much of this current generation of people have been on this spaceship. This could, like, it is like just as weird as everything else that has happened.
I don't know. I thought they kind of lived on the ship and then, like, would go out foraging for fruits and swimming naked and...
Yeah, I thought so too. And I thought the kids were allowed on the ship if they... decided
they just didn't get there.
The kids,
it seemed like they didn't want to go. Like they
didn't want
thought
to.
That the whole Mistfall thing was like a lie.
Mistfall was a lie. Deciders are fascists. We're gonna make our own civilization as children or young
This is the problem with propaganda, is that like if you have too much propaganda, then people will assume that the wrong stuff is propaganda. So like they were like, oh yeah, Mistfall's a myth. The Marshmen don't exist. Like no, that part's true. You should not be like dragged into the swamp by Marshmen. That's a bad idea.
Ooh. Okay, a lot of heavy lifting. I will say a lot of brain heavy lifting for this episode.
Sure. I will say that like this episode, there's a lot in it, and which is not something that we've seen a lot of, especially in Stitches in Time. Like I feel like some of the other 4-part classic Doctor Who stories have been like, oh, we're really stretching this out. Like, let's run back through the forest. Oh no, we have to go back to the other side of the forest. All this stuff, like.
Yeah, and I think that's why I come from a place of like, you didn't explain it to me. I don't care.
Great,
it's going to be over soon. Like when none of this is like long lasting. They're never going to make a callback to this episode. So I will give it as much emotional, like, mental energy as I think they put into it, which is, here is a thing, because we're doing a premise of an episode. Mm-hmm. Move on.
Yeah, okay. Couched in that, yeah, I might relax my bone a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, like, and you're kind of taking it as, like, this is the extent of what you have, so you kind of have to build out an entire story of this, of like, oh, I know this isn't gonna happen. None of this is going to matter.
Yeah, great. Now, I think production design had a lot of fun with this episode. I think that might have been like a lot of why they got it made. We got some cool masks. We got some cool Marshman suits.
Yeah, I want to say something potentially divisive, but I thought the Marshmen masks were kind of adorable in like a pug kind of way. How pugs are really
I feel like they kind of wanted you to, like, they had an entire baby one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a
I think
little
they wanted
child.
you a little bit to think it was cute.
It was pretty cute.
And they were well-meaning. They were also trying to just get away from the mist, right? Like that was their whole thing. They weren't actively trying to kill the humans.
I mean, there was the implication that they were going to use the TARDIS as a battering ram to get into the ship because they didn't know the button, and then they were able to possess Romana, and she was like, "I know how this turny thing works."
But the spiders did that. But maybe.
Yeah.
But I know they were one and the same. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know whether or not the spiders and the Marshmen are supposed to be in cahoots.
They are. They're like
okay.
The origin of the hive mind is this. God, I think I'm right. I mean, I would put a lot of money on that. I read the Wikipedia for the episode. Okay. So Adric. So he comes back. Is it the same actor who plays this kid?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. He's got a very expressive face. He's got this animalistic type face, like big old eyebrows, and do you know what I mean? No, it's just me.
I guess so.
This guy, the kid, is like I can't.
My favorite part of this episode was the very silly theatricality of each of the three deciders when, like, Tom Baker walks in.
I am Nifred.
I am Gareth. I am Logan. And I'm the Doctor.
Each of them stands up and the spotlight comes on them and they say, "My name is this. My name is Logan.
Yes.
And I am," like...
I was very grateful as a person who did not know what their names were, and then I immediately forgot their names.
It felt like an anime opening intro.
Yeah, like they were going to break into a dance, like flash mob real quick.
It was so perfect.
It was good.
So
I won't say that was my favorite part, but that got my attention, and I love some theatrics. I love going high drama for no real reason.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think I have two. I have a couple favorite parts. Again, like I enjoyed this in terms of there were a lot of bits that I liked, and trying to thread those bits together into a sensible plot is not my job as far as I'm concerned. It was their job. They failed that job.
Great.
I'm not doing that work for them.
Great.
I enjoyed the bit about one of the the one that like got introduced as being the decider, and his whole thing from the beginning was that like, "Oh, my daughter's outside, you're leaving my daughter out there," and then eventually like he joins the deciders and he's like, "I'm gonna forget my daughter," but then goes to the doctor and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a secret deal with you, I'll help you if you get my daughter out," and then immediately the TARDIS just materializes and his daughter pops out, and it was like, okay, well there was no point for that to happen then.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah, it just got solved.
I loved the introduction of the spiders and Romana being like, "Don't worry, it's just spiders. They're only spiders," and then immediately takes a spider to the face.
Yeah, that was a wonderful really clutch.
bit. And then finally, the doctor having a face-off with the Marshmen, who has again his dog's head on a pike. And he fights that guy. He takes the dog's head, is trying to do, like, scare them with his own dog's head, and thinks that he scared them, but actually it's Romana.
My favorite part of that bit was the like, Tom Baker, like, closes the top of K9's head. K9's head is clearly an empty box. There's nothing in there. And I'm just like, oh, interesting.
I'm struggling to find a favorite moment in my head. I'm sure there is one. I mean, I enjoyed it overall. I didn't hate my life while watching it. I was confused a lot of the time, but I had a sense of whimsy about it. No, here's what I'll say. You know what was really fun to see, though? Like, I brought up art before, but practical effects, the practical spiders, the Marshmen, it's just like, yeah, why not? Why not make your little TV show with, you know, suits that don't look actually real? Like, who cares? You know, we're not going to CG everything and
Yeah.
the makeup's going to be weird, and everyone's wearing just, basically
The
t-shirts.
best money the best arts that 12 pounds can get you.
yeah, like, and why not make your little TV show with that in mind, and go forward knowing that, like, it's not really, suspend your disbelief left and right. It's totally fine. But the mist was cool to watch too.
Knowing that this comes from a 19-year-old, just kind of the energy of, like, we're doing, as someone who I come from, like, an anime background, and I think that's also kind of why I can kind of throw logic to the wind and just be like, we're doing this because it's cool, and that's why that thing happened. Don't ask about it.
Okay.
So a lot of things of, like, oh, the premise of how Adric's brother dies is also weirdly hilarious. Particularly my favorite bit is after he has been sucked through the door and Adric has to roll the door back up. Sadly roll the door back up. And I love that, because that is, we've just given this boy trauma. Also, but the way that we're going to show that trauma is just have him roll up a door.
This door works like a car window in the 1980s.
We're going to take the time. You're going to grieve and be productive all in one moment.
Yeah, and also, like, he was just grabbing his hand on apparently a door that is, like, the implication is doing that kind of slow come down. It's like, well, all you're going to do is chop your brother's hand off. You certainly don't want that.
Yeah. And the way, speaking of death, the way that Adric's mentor, if I'm right, the teacher guy, the old teacher guy, the way he dies is really
fell down.
He just falls and then acrobats his way into breaking his neck. Like, do you remember that? Like, the theatrics of that was he falls and then he kind of does a hip hop move and ends with his, like, neck in a weird way. But that isn't how he fell. You can see that he manipulated himself into that death.
It was really good stunt work that was not justified at all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was some Reagan.
He had one final lesson, and it was, I've told you, don't ever breakdance.
I mean, he lands on that, that breakdance move where it's hard and it looks like you're landing on that part of your shoulder. And it's...
and then he does that other breakdancing move where you get pulled into a lake by a swamp creature.
By a swamp creature. Yeah. And also... Well, that was really confusing because I had to look that up. I was like, who was that man? And it was Adric's mentor. But the way Adric responded to him was, get away from me, like stranger danger almost in the episode. Like, no, I won't go with you. And then he
because he was like trying, because that guy is also, I think, was the like head decider, the first decider.
He was he decider? Right. Yeah. He was a decider, and then the scientist was the other guy. You're right, and that's why Logan gets promoted. Right. A lot of deciders dying.
Speaking of science, there's a lot of like science ethics that we get from the Doctor that are very contradictory. Like, he's very upset at the idea that they're going to dissect one of the Marshmen, but sad we're going to dissect the Marshmen. A-okay with dissecting a spider. Does confirm that they are the same.
Ooh, yes.
I feel like, you are just a hypocrite.
Mandy. Good catch. Didn't catch that.
That's very interesting. I didn't catch that either. So I watched this on DVD, and there were some DVD extras. There were some little like interview bits. So I learned some other cute behind the scenes information. So I've got kind of a sweet thing and kind of a hilarious thing. The sweet thing is that the girl teen beat and the guy who played Adric's brother met on this episode and got married in real life.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. And the other thing...
Can they stay married?
As of whenever they filmed the documentary on the DVD... So
that's hot. Good for them.
And then the other thing was, apparently Andrew Smith, the writer, really did not like K9, like as a fan and as a character, which is why he got dismantled in this episode.
Oh, you can't
K9 had it raw, and I don't think K9 ever talked in this episode. I don't recall
remember him
K9 ever saying anything, but I remember that the doctor made him go in mud, and there was a really sad scene where it's like, oh, he's a little robot. He can't go in the mud. And then he gets his head ripped off.
Yeah, he got done dirty. He got done dirty. That makes so much sense. I'm so glad you pulled that out of there, Becca. It's hard.
Yeah.
Andrew Smith, look, I wonder what he went on to do, because
I don't think he's in television anymore.
I would buy that.
But like by choice, I think.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can find out. Hang on.
Yeah, let's see what Andrew. Good luck googling that. What a name! Could be anybody.
Our next guest to Stitches in Time.
God, but what an achievement for a 19-year-old to just be like, I'm gonna make a TV show.
For real.
Watch me. It also is a testament to, like, TV shows are hard. They're hard, hour-long, hard, difficult. You know, wrapping it up, providing the correct character development, the twists, the turns. And sometimes you just got to make the spiders, the marsh people, the humans. They're all the same. Full circle. Okay.
Oh, it says a screenwriter, playwright, and author. Has done a lot of Big Finish stuff.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. After limited success in television, left the industry and joined the police. Then went back to Doctor Who.
Wow.
Oh, that's so funny. He's a cop.
Damn. Amy, it's pronounced bastard.
Andrew Smith.
He became a bastard for a while.
He became a bastard.
And then went back to Doctor Who.
Well, I don't really know what to think of that. He went back, huh? I guess when you're 19 and you only get better, right? You only figure out narrative.
I hope so. I feel like if you spend that much time as a writer, you just kind of get better and better.
Yeah.
That's been my experience, at least, as a writer.
Yeah. Huh. There's a lot to think about in this episode. And yet, not that much.
There's a lot to overthink in this episode.
There's a lot to overthink in this episode. Yeah. I think I asked too many questions.
Classic Doctor Who is really an exercise in meditation, because there's going to be a lot of sticky stuff, and you're going to like want to think, like, well, what does that actually mean for the society? And you just got to let it wash over you. You just got to let it move past you. And
Would you say what percentage of Doctor Who would you say all of it? Would you say takes place on alternate realities, different civilizations other than an Earth civilization, like made up fantasy? You know, beyond just like, oh, the sci-fi of traveling and time travel, like right. Just like the extra world building.
I'm not sure, but I will probably write a macro for my spreadsheet and figure it out.
Great. I didn't mean to make more work for you. I just have no idea.
I love this.
Anecdotally, I feel like it's the majority of, like, I feel like more of it is in a fake place than real time.
Right.
We do have the fart monsters.
That was present day Earth. I mean, that was
Earth.
Yeah, that was present day.
No. Well, who the hell were those guys?
Well, they were aliens. They were invading.
But they were on Earth.
Okay.
Sorry, Amy. There are no episodes of Doctor Who that are documentaries. I want to stress that.
I guess aliens are allowed to come to Earth. That's fine. I just thought they were on, for some reason, their planet or like a different space station or something.
I think it's probably about 50-50, but
wow, interesting.
Because they do a lot of, like, they go to the past and they have adventures in like Victorian times and stuff like that. And I don't know if you count that as like it's like an alien, but it's in a past that exists.
No, I don't count that. Okay. Yeah.
Just sort of alien civilizations you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like there's not really any time. Did the cavemen, was there alien shit happening with the cavemen, or were they just cavemen?
They were just cavemen.
They were just cavemen. Like, and I feel like that's one of the few times that they go into the past and it's literally just the past happening. There's not other shenanigans. Like, whenever they are going to the past, it's like there's usually something else going on.
And there's a fair amount of First Doctor stories where that's kind of Because at the time it was like this show was presented as like an educational children's show, and so when they would go to like the future and space, they would be like talking about sciencey things, and then they would go to the past, and they would be like, oh, now we're in Roman times, and we can like talk about what life was like in Roman times.
Okay. Educational children's show.
Yeah. It has since gotten better.
Educational children's show. With this episode.
We learned how to build a spaceship out of melons.
God, Becca, that's the best.
It's like building a clock out of a potato.
They should put this in a box set with the Peppa Pig episode that they can't show in Australia. I think that they could show that episode in Australia if they just also show this
What's wrong with Peppa
series.
Pig?
There's an episode of Peppa Pig that teaches you not to be afraid of spiders, and that episode is banned in Australia because they have spiders that you need to be afraid of.
Harsh. Man, that's so fierce. I love that.
Terrifying.
I like the art on Romana when she gets abducted.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's a glam choice. I love that. I'm gonna go for that.
I would love like a color changing tattoo. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
When are we getting that technology? Come on, people.
It might be
Come on,
Amazon.
science, get it together.
It might be on Amazon. I'm just saying.
Please.
I've looked at stuff you can glue to your face, and it might have LED, color changing strips.
I'm going through my notes. The only thing that I think is worth pointing out is that we have, when Adric meets the Fourth Doctor for the first time, he has the correct response, which is to immediately collapse.
Great. He does. That's true. His knee.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is accurate and fair, and how everyone who meets the Fourth Doctor should react.
Because of swooning?
Yeah, because he's just so handsome that you can't contain yourself. You're just like, oh my goodness.
Oh my god, I'm so horny. My
Tom
body
Baker.
isn't ready for this.
Oh no.
My blood is rushing everywhere but my head, yeah.
Tom Baker, are we flirting right now?
Tom Baker, you and your curly hair.
That's such a long scarf. I wonder what else is long. This seems mean to Mandy when she has a cold. It's just sorry.
It is. It's definitely very mean. I've already been having to deal with nausea. This isn't helping.
I'm so sorry. Amy, where can people find you online?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. People can find me at Vorpahl Sword on every social media platform, including Blue Sky and Threads. And that's VORPAHL Sword.
Amazing. What do you got in the works? What's coming up, if anything?
The thing I'm most proud of is Goblin Mode. You can find that on Geek and Sundry's YouTube and just listen to it on podcast platforms, I guess. But it's called Goblin Mode. It's an actual play. We play D&D 5e, and it's 20 episodes for the rest of the year, and including it will stop at episode 11. They're all about an hour long, so you can catch up. And we're going to start episodes 12 through 20 in the new year.
Very exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for expanding your Doctor Who knowledge.
Oh,
and,
thank you. Thank
we
you
would love
so
to have
much.
you
I
back
feel like this
at
was
some
really
point.
a point against you. It was like, okay, no more.
Wait, what?
You got farting monsters and be like, okay, well, there has to be more than farting monsters. And more than farting monsters is this, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm just happy to, like Becca said, like expand my context for all that Doctor Who is and can be. I feel, and obviously this was the 80s, like all kinds of television was being made. So this does not color my opinion of Doctor Who as a whole. I'm happy to know.
You can let it.
Okay.
I know this is a Doctor Who podcast. This is not a Doctor Who praising podcast.
No, fair enough. Yeah, this wasn't the best episode of television I've ever seen, but I can also see the bones of the Christopher Eccleston thing, and like, okay, I see. I just like having more context of where this, inimitable franchise has come from. So I'm not mad about that at all.
Yeah. And the answer is it was on TV a lot and people enjoyed watching it for some reason. I am.
It might have been the
to
only
some extent
fantasy
it's being
thing going
7
on.
or dealing with other traumas in the background.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. There's like other worlds at play. It's creative. You know, people get away with a lot. It's neat.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
I'm excited to have you back on and also just like hang out again sometime soon.
I would love that.
We got to do another karaoke night or something.
Oh, we sure do. Well, Riley's birthday.
Oh yeah, Riley's birthday's coming up. Everyone come to Riley's birthday.
Yeah, everyone come to Riley's birthday.
All right, bye everyone.
Let's list all of our mutual friends right now on this podcast.
Here are all of their names and phone numbers.
In fairness, like, come to Riley's birthday 2 weeks ago. This episode
Oh yeah, that's
really
true.
good.
Ha
Break the code of this podcast. Travel back in time.
Oh no, don't travel in time. That's exactly what this podcast doesn't want you to do. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca the Matrix Archivist. Art by Mandy Oquendo. Logo by Ben Paddon. Find us on the web at www.stitchesintie.me. Stitches in Time, but with a dot in the middle of the word time.
And then he showed up, and yeah, he's in E-Space. He's in an alternate universe thing. I think that's what kind of happens when your ship crashes into the Earth and all the dinosaurs die. That makes sense.
Sure.
You just blast away. I'm ill.
What are you doing?
Carrier type comparisons? Yes, definitely morphological similar carrier types.
They are. They're like
okay.
The origin of the hive mind is this. God, I think I'm right. I mean, I would put a lot of money on that. I read the Wikipedia for the episode. It's chaotic as well. Like, I mean, I had to read many sentences many times. Like the same sentence back, going, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on that Wikipedia. I'm gonna say that was a mistake.
Okay.
I think that can only harm you.
Okay, fair enough.
I did spend a fair amount of my watch through of this episode being like, wait, hang on, go back. I have to rewatch the last 2 minutes because
that makes me feel not crazy.